Hey everyone, back in familiar territory here at the Richmond Hill Golf Club and visiting Paul and Donna and seeing how healthy the Golf Academy is. Everything's just peachy down here. So just spending a little bit of time, I saw a lot of comments about my one-leg drill and how I was able to get a little bit more clubhead speed. And I know many of you have been working on my one-leg drill. My first one-leg drill video I put up like 10 years ago or more. And yeah, back in 2007. Ha! So you'll see I look a little different back then. So one leg versus diagonal stance versus regular stance. Okay, so I know many of you are going to be wondering how to get the one leg drill, how to go from there and bring it to the regular stance. And so just to show you what's happening with the center of gravity. Now I did a few swings with the Myswing balance plates this morning, just to give you an idea of what's happening to the center of gravity. You'll notice that the diagonal stance and the regular stance are very similar. And the one leg drill is mighty tantalizing because the center of gravity is condensed in such a small area that very few things can go wrong, okay? So let's go back to regular stance, back to one leg. As you saw in my video, center of gravity moves back and inside. Then I'm gonna just stay in there, back and through. So inside the ankle, inside the ankle. So off the ball goes, gorgeous little draw, nice balanced finish. And you can really use the ground forces with that, because if you notice, when I do a little perpetual motion, up, down, up, down, up, man, I can really turbocharge that golf club. So the key here, especially on one leg, is to be able to gather the backswing. Notice how there's no weight. I can just tap my foot right here. The weight is on the inside of that ankle. And then on the way through, it stays inside the ankle. Now, ball position wise, very important. If your ball position's too far forward, you won't be able to stay in balance. So many of you are putting the ball right on the front foot there and you feel it's really good statically, but dynamically it's out of balance. So you'll notice you'll have to put the ball a little more inside so that you can stay up against your front leg all the way to the finish. So the pressure stays inside the ankle, inside the ankle. So one more of those. And as far as aiming is concerned, when you take your intermediate point, so let me get an intermediate point here, and let's say I want to go a little fade from the left side of that back to the red flag. So I am lining up the compression of my shot. So right now it feels like the compression is going to go way left. Less left. There, that feels like it's grazing the inside edge. So I just stay left edge, and man, did that sound good, huh? And that's just left side of the red flag, and it's cozying up to the red flag. It's probably about 7 feet left. So if I was going to do a draw, I want my alignment of my compression. So look at I'll have a nice door frame video on my premium channel. If you look at hammering through or hammer through Shawn Clement, I'm focusing on a door frame and I'm squeezing the ball through the door frame. So right now it feels like the ball's going to squeeze through the door frame just to the right of that intermediate point. So gather. Now it's staying to the right of that intermediate point. Again, nice balance at the finish. So very few things can go wrong. Now I go from there, and as soon as I bring my foot back down, notice my center of gravity changes. And now the thing is, with both feet on the ground, they both have to participate in the support of my center of gravity. Center of gravity is the centermost point in my body where I have equal weight up and down, side to side, front to back, right about there. So there it's going back, there's back to the ball. If I go a little diagonal, and while I still have to use both feet to support that center of gravity. So I'm going to go right edge. If the ball's too far forward, I have to lunge. If the ball's too far back, I have to reach back. There, that feels like I can go right edge. So I'm just staying right edge, right edge. And that's fantastic. Really, really flush. So I find that when I open up the swing a little bit more, I have that other leg to keep me stable. If I'm going uphill, I need my trail leg. So however, when it's really wet, I remember playing in an event where it was soaking wet, it was standing lie all over the place. We had to find a dry spot. It was a Monday qualifier, and I just got on one leg and sank down into the mud and stayed on one leg back and through, and I wasn't slipping and sliding all over the place. I was extremely stable, and I qualified second that day. So, nice tidy 72. Now, this is my diagonal stance, back in, there. I want to go fade, there it is. So stay left edge, stay left edge. There's that nice fade going from checkered flag. Come on, a little more. Yep, there's a nice little bounce, and it's cozying up to the red flag. So that was about 20 feet left. Now, going from diagonal stance back to parallel stance. So you'll find that, like Hogan liked the diagonal stance on the long clubs, but liked the open stance on the short clubs, and you see that in his book. Now, the longer the club, the more outward the pull. If you're struggling with the longer clubs, you may want to go to this diagonal stance or the one leg, because I can smoke the ball on one leg like you saw last week. So the outward pull of the driver is counterbalanced much better when that foot is back here. So you'll see Hogan much more away from the ball with the driver and the 3-wood, and as he gets closer, as the arms come down and the shafts get shorter, you'll see his stance get a little bit narrower and a little more open. So the key is what's going to allow you to perform your task. So, you know, if I'm cutting through this dandelion stem in that direction, I feel like with this, I can do it very well. With this, I can do it very well. With that, I can do it very well. And as I get to the longer clubs, it feels like this needs to be a little bit more here for me. So I'm kind of liking that diagonal stance a little bit more. And even with, you know, I go out and drive the ball, if I'm on a tight course, driving the ball on one leg is going to be very, very beneficial. You know, we have to stop thinking about, you know, how am I going to look? Obviously, the golf industry has us in a bind right now where if we look a little bit different, then we're frowned upon because that's not convention. Well, in so many other disciplines and other things in life, you'll notice that going your own way can be extremely beneficial, not following the crowd. So in this case here, knowing how the machine works and how that center of gravity is supported throughout the swing is going to be a huge benefit to you, and I hope you use it. All the best. So here's my starting point on one leg. Backswing, you can see the center of gravity goes a little bit to my back and into my ankle because I'm hitting draw, and then settles in on the inside of that ankle. So there's not much going on there as far as the center of gravity. It stays in a very condensed area. So if we look at the diagonal stance, so getting set up here, there we go. So you see how my backswing goes a little lower to the inside of that. You see my footprint? So it's inside my right ankle, then it shifts back to my left ankle, and then settles right there inside my left ankle. And then finally, if you look at, so if we look at the parallel stance here, backswing, see it's inside the ankle, shifts back to the heel as I'm clearing, and then settles on the inside of my left ankle or arch in the finish. So it's a little broader in the parallel stance, and you could see that in the diagonal stance it was a little tighter. So I'm kind of liking this is what's going on. So we got some really cool stuff to review here, and you'll see some really interesting things coming up in the next few weeks.